some lady was just talking to me, man. Who was it? Oh, man. Hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto. It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. If you're wondering where David is, we have given him the day off. We do have the amazing Kyler here. You know, I just thought about it. I don't know what your last name is, Kyler. I should know.
We don't have to say it on air.
No. I'm not trying to get you to say it on air. I just had this moment of realization that your last name has slipped my mind. So
that's fair. Welcome to crypto.
So guys, welcome to the show. A lot of big news today. The Genesis debate between, DCG, Genesis, perhaps commingling of funds and insolvency issues that could arise in the future and what that could mean for Bitcoin is on the horizon. We're going to kind of discuss that. Also, what is the direction of Bitcoin and what do we expect out of the markets? If, let's just say, for example, if crypto were to dip down to even lower levels and stay there throughout the year, what would that look like? And then also, guess who pulled up to court today, bro?
Who's that?
Your boy, Sam Bankman-Fried. And so SBF has shown up to court today.
Squeal!
Yeah, so he is due for arraignment. And so it is expected that Sam Bankman-Fried is going to put in an innocent/not guilty plea. You know what? It's a typical move. We'll get into that in a moment. But before we do, I do want to show you. This is your boy right here walking in. We go.
Sam, how you gonna play this one, guys?
What's it?
I gotta get in. Guys, that's it.
That's wild, man.
Man, like, first of all, if that thing goes to trial, that's what it's going to look like every day. Every day you walk into the courtroom because he is out on bail every single day. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get Sam Bankman-Fried.
You need armed guards, man, pushing
looking
through.
looking like he walking through the club in Vegas, on a Friday night with Steve Aoki
bottle
bumping.
girl.
You know what I mean? Like, you're
Everybody's taking pictures. No pictures, please. No pictures.
He's like, the dawn is here.
I know him.
He's like,
I know him.
Get the freshest pastries out the back. None of that 2-hour-old pastries in the window. So a lot to unpack there. And then also we got some Bitcoin Genesis Day. So here we got community celebrates Bitcoin Genesis Day by sending BTC to the Genesis block. We'll talk about that here in a little bit as well. And then taking a look at where we're at in the markets. Bitcoin is kind of in that same zone. Very small pullback today compared to yesterday. We were at 16.7 yesterday. So as you can see here, we did have a decline. This might be correlated to the stock market and some of the big moves that we had there. Let's see. I don't have it pulled up. About 1 second. So if you take a look at the stock market, is down. NASDAQ down 1%. Both Tesla and Apple had very big down days today, which is probably the reason for the red in the market today. So that could have something to do with it. But biggest gainers, Solana up 15% in the last 24 hours, 18% for the week. So Solana did go from at $8 up to $13. So if you would have swing traded the bottom up until where we're at now, you could have got pretty much a 50% return on that. Pretty substantial movement. Or Solana's down actually to 12.85, but earlier this morning I did see it at over $13, $13.47. I do think this is just the market trying to find itself. We had a lot of sell off, a big dump in the price. Even though Solana's pumping, nothing has changed fundamentally in the last few days as far as the project itself. But to take a look at, just to put this in perspective, what Solana looks like, this little bump right here, that's what it was. So this is the 1 year chart. The year to date chart is actually this is now a 2-day chart, right?
Yeah.
So if you pull up the year to date,
We're doing great this year.
Look at Solana this year, man. This thing is moving, man. Like, wow, what an amazing project. No, so over the last 12 months, you can see it went from 170. I think all time it was over 200, right?
Yeah, got up there, bro.
A lot of people are critical of Solana, and with due reason. I think that their valuation or the token trading price was way more inflated than it was supposed to be. I think that we're gonna find out later as things come out with the FTX debacle that FTX and Alameda Research had inflated the price for their own personal gain because they had so much skin in the game. And so, that was overinflated. Now it's pulled back. Now, crypto fear and greed index also just one last little look towards the markets here is at 26. So a little bit fearful today. All right. So guys, if you are new here to the chat, say hello. So that way we can drop an hola back at you. Did see the return of Jimmy in the chat today. He was first in the chat. Can I get a round of applause for Jimmy?
Also gifted 10 memberships, man.
Oh, yeah. And Jimmy gifted 10 memberships. Also, the Happy New Year to you, Jimmy. We love you here. We miss you, man. We miss you.
Yeah,
some new people here. We have Lucky Thoughts, and then we also have Lance, Alice. Let's see, Alice, FC, Tom Crown is in here as well, and then we got Huffy, also Luis, and
You got Russell too. It's been Russell is back.
Yeah, Russell is back. I'm
been a long time.
Where's
Russell?
Where's DFib at, man? And then
what happened to
we got Big D up in here. I haven't seen him in a while as well. And then for all of you here new, hola, welcome to Sin City Crypto. And then Crypto Chris. Okay, cool. He says hello from Scotland.
I've been to Scotland. Scotland's dope, man.
Yeah.
I love Scotland.
I've not been to Scotland.
Scotland was really cool, man. Edinburgh was the coolest place I've ever been. It's Harry Potter in real life. It's stone everywhere. I mean, like the history there, it's nuts, man. Like being from being from Vegas, first off, everything's so new here that strip's always turning over. They're constantly imploding buildings, constantly building something new. I mean, like historically, really don't go back that far. And even like in the US, if you go back to like Boston, right? I've been to Boston, and Boston has a lot of really cool old buildings and a lot of stone, but nothing compared to like Scotland. Like that's, 1,000-year-old buildings, structures, stuff that you can go and visit. That's just nuts, man. And like the way they lived and just thinking about how many people walked, like it's wild. I love Scotland. It was dope. I want to go there again for sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that.
Hey man, no. It's from everything I've seen, absolutely gorgeous. I like places that have a lot of rain and like overcast. Maybe it's just because I miss it so much being here in Vegas.
It's sunny all the time.
I grew up in Virginia. We had all the seasons there, including quite a bit of rain. So it is one thing I do miss. But my new home here is Vegas, man. I've been here for 19 years now. No, 18 years. And so, the housing is cheap. There's not too much traffic. And
easy to find a job.
Yeah, and the city itself here is not quite widespread to a point where, like I lived in LA for a year. Tried out LA, and it's like, dude, if you go to the other side of town, it's like a 2-hour drive.
Right. I'm
not even talking about traffic. I'm just talking about the city itself. LA County is so large that, you could have a friend that you work with that lives on one side of town, you live on the other, and it could be an hour and a half drive, zero traffic just to get to, back and forth. And so, Vegas is a little bit more compact. So, I don't know, big Vegas homer. Also, guess what? CES this year. So me and Dave will go there. I don't know if are you guys going? I know. Yep.
I'll try.
Well, after the show, we'll talk about getting the passes for
down.
you. Ben is also going to be joining us. So Ben from BitBoy Crypto, he'll be joining us on Sunday, and we'll all be hanging out over there in CES. There's for the application process. They have a lot of mention to blockchain. So CES, if you guys aren't familiar, it's a consumer electronics show. It is the largest, basically tech convention out there in the world. There's usually 500,000 people that travel to Vegas for that alone. It's all the who's who of electronics for Apple, Microsoft, Google, also for FinTech. And we might see some new VR headsets there. Maybe, who knows, maybe some blockchain integrated cars. I know BMW is integrating blockchain. So stay tuned for coverage in all things CES. And then, and we'll be giving you some footage. We'll probably, I don't think we'll go live from there at all, but we will record some highlights, some takeaways from CES. Or if you guys are going to be at CES, let us know. We'd love to meet up with you. It is not open to the public. It needs to be for industry people. But if you, for some reason, are in the tech side and you're going to be there, let us know. Or if you're in Vegas, come hang out with us in the studio. We also got Leroy in here. So, hola, Leroy
Jenkins.
So, all right. So let's get into what's going on here. First of all, I want to discuss Sam Bankman-Fried and his arrival at court, or his arraignment, and his not guilty plea. So, for one, let's think about what's happening here. Okay, boy, I was under the assumption he was going to plead guilty, right? I mean, it is standard protocol that you would show up to court if you're trying to get a favorable plea deal, is that you say not guilty, and then all of a sudden you got to set up court dates. You got to go through the whole procedures of having this long drug out court case. And, the prosecutors, honestly, they don't want to go through a giant debacle. You saw how crazy it was for Sam Bankman-Fried just to simply walk into the courtroom. The same happens for the prosecutors. They got to walk into the courtroom as well, and they're going to be barraged with questions by the media as well. And just a lot of money that goes there as well. So obviously, for when it comes to the prosecution, they would just like to get a guilty plea and get it over and done with, and then go straight to sentencing and hold them accountable. But your problem is that you get more leverage if you say I'm innocent, because then you drag through the whole process. Now, what do you think? Do you think, here's my question. Do you think that Sam Bankman-Fried will stick to the not guilty plea and try to go through court? Now, this is highly unlikely, but and then I was listening to some podcast today about this, and some people discussions about what his next move is, and nobody was discussing that perhaps this guy will go to court. And I started thinking about his little media tour that he did earlier this year. And so, what do you think his lawyers are going to tell him? His lawyers are going to say, "Hey, man, you need to take this guilty plea. You might face 100 years." But at the same time,
I don't think he's been listening to his lawyers at all. I'm sure they told him to shut the.
That is what I'm saying. So during this whole media debacle,
let me talk to everybody. I don't know. Maybe it was a smart move though. You got to think his parents are Stanford law professors.
I think he just YOLO'd. He said he didn't care what anybody says.
Yeah, too high on his own supply of different amphetamines and whatever concoction he had going on.
For me, I started thinking, I'm like, is it possible that same mentality where he says, F the lawyers, F the financial advice, I'm going to tell my story, would he do the same when it comes to his own personal court case? And perhaps the dude is so delusional that he literally doesn't think he did anything wrong.
I think
like
he could have,
criminally.
yeah, I definitely think he could have convinced himself that he
And-
was more of a victim than the actual
I'm
conspirator.
just saying that if he didn't do anything wrong, I mean, if he thinks he didn't do anything wrong, like if it's in his head, hey man, I'm free of fraud. Like I just miscalculated and I trusted the wrong people. And if he sticks with that narrative, I think it's probable. Now,
There's one thing that I'd like to add real quick. What I did notice with the Sam Bankman-Fried thing is that when we were breaking the news, right, in November when it was happening, nobody wanted to hear about it. Like I was trying to tell everybody I could. Everybody was just like, whatever, what is FTX? Who cares? What's the big deal? 2 months later, 3 months later now, my father-in-law is talking to me, hey, did you hear about this guy? I'm like, I was trying to tell you about that when it happened, when it broke in November, but nobody wanted to listen. But now, it's actually starting to grab mainstream attention, and people are like, oh, this guy might be the biggest thing since Madoff. Like, we've been trying to tell you that this whole time. Like, we tried to express how big this was and how much, like, how deep it went. Second largest contributor to the Democratic Party. Apparently all these shady Republican contributions. Like, why has he not faced any real push? How did he get out on bail without actually having to provide really anything outside of just, weird collateral?
I'm still in the camp that he was going to get out of bail regardless, and unless you're
$250 million. Like that's supposed to be like ultra rich.
Now whether or not he ended up
it
getting
just seemed sketchy. And then as soon as it was released, the judge stepped down for a conflict of interest after he got his freedom.
But you know what? After looking into it, it was over an abundance of caution. It was his wife. The judge's wife works for a company that had a...
I thought that was reversed. I thought the judge was a lady.
Or yeah, maybe it was a husband.
Yeah.
So the spouse has a company that had done prior business with FTX in the past.
I'm not saying that the conflict of interest wasn't there.
It was like out of abundance of caution. So
yeah, but she stepped down after he was given his freedom. Like he was actually able to get that bail. That's all I'm saying. Is like there's just so many sketchy things happening left and right with this case. All the time. Like every time it seems like we come up with something more new. So like who knows, man? I mean, I like to hear what Caroline Ellison's saying. Like I want to hear her side of the story. I want to hear some of the executives.
So she's just straight flipped on him, man.
Well, yeah. So let's hear what she has to say because he's kind of flipped his own story a bunch. And he even what was that Vox interview where he said, I just basically did all this, what did he call his entrepreneurial stuff? Altruism, effective altruism. He said he basically came out and said that was just a ploy to cater to his audience, which, I mean, seems pretty legit to me. The guy seems like a con artist. I remember reading Andreessen,
Andreessen Horowitz?
No, so Andreessen Horowitz is that's two people. It's Mark Andreessen. So I follow him on Twitter. So that guy is like a huge tech pioneer in tech. Like the guy actually created, I'm pretty sure he created like one of the first web browsers when he was back in college. And anywho, so I start following that guy because I want to hear what these people have to say. And he said it was, what did he call affinity fraud? I think is what he called it. So basically where he just worked his way in, pretended to be rich, he became rich by his arbitraging scheme that he had started with Alameda. And that's just like, to me, it's just like a shady business practice to begin with. I mean, sure, it's legal and you can get away with it, but I don't know, man.
So, okay. So you have Caroline Ellison. She flipped on SBF, or at least is snitching on him. So, she's going to be front and center, the main witness. And by all rights, she should be, right? Because if you're essentially commingling funds, because when you look at like what happened with FTX, you had FTX commingling funds and then Alameda Research basically spending it. So you send money to FTX, you're a user, it goes there.
It went into Alameda.
Then it goes sideways, then it goes straight to Alameda, and then Alameda spends it. And so what better person to point the finger than the CEO of Alameda, because the CEO of FTX, or the founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, he is over there like, hey, it's basically just the ideal witness game. Caroline got all her time suspended, right?
What do you mean?
So Caroline pleaded guilty, right? And now this isn't final, doesn't go through until the court case is resolved with Sam Bankman-Fried. But basically, she's going to serve 0 time. No time. Now, the only caveat is that she is
on what charges? Like the ones that Sam's being
all 8 of them. So her conspiracy for wire fraud, for money laundering, for I forget all the charges. So she's not going to serve any time for those, but she will serve. She is able to get. I forget the terminology, but she's able to get time or prosecuted by the IRS for tax issues.
Yeah. Well, that's how they took down the mafia.
So
right?
she's free. She's free of all the charges there.
That actually might be worse,
Yeah, but tax fraud. But here's the thing: how much time are you gonna do for tax?
You could do life, bro. How many white collar criminals are in there for tax evasion, tax fraud?
But at its core,
I mean, I'm not saying she's gonna get life, but I'm saying you could.
I think what's gonna happen, she's gonna get she'll get a 10, 20-year sentence, and then it'll all be suspended by 2 years or something, or she'll be out on bail, or you should be out on
I would like to know what her personal wealth would be after all this.
Remember, she didn't start out. She didn't start Alameda. She wasn't there from the get go. She just ran a corrupt empire. She came in and was like, "Oh, y'all doing some shady ass shit here? Okay, I'm vibing. Okay, cool. Yeah, just sign me
That's
up.
what we're doing. All right, cool. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I'm making a lot of money here. So she's not the mastermind, but I don't know, man. That's a whole nother topic. So basically, she might just do months in jail. She might do no time in jail. She might do a couple years in jail, but regardless, she had over 100 years over her head. And now all of that is as long as she cooperates, all of that's going to be for nothing, right?
No.
No charges, no accountability, realistically.
We'll see,
that doesn't remove her from civil liability. So she's going to be in debt probably for the rest of her life financially. And
I'll never financially recover from this.
So, but my question is what does Sam Bankman-Fried's time look like? Because he's going to end up having a plea deal more than likely, unless we go through the doomsday scenario. Let me say something. If Sam Bankman-Fried goes to court, holy crap, bro! That is going to be front
trial
and
of
center.
century.
It'll be trial of century, man. And on top of that, he's going to be blowing up other people in the industry, right? Because obviously, if it ain't his fault, it's somebody else's fault, right?
Right.
And so he's going to be talking about the shady business practices from other exchanges, market makers, other projects. Basically, he's going to try to take down anybody and everybody that there is. So I don't know, man. I'm just thinking in the worst case scenario, I think it'd actually be bad for crypto if he goes to court.
Wow.
I think if he goes to court, he's going to flip on so many people and talk so much crap. It's going to be right now, man. And we don't need any of that stuff.
Crypto is here to stay. I mean, it's gonna.
Yeah, it is. But
it's gonna take cracks. It's gonna take hits.
But
it's just not gonna go away.
It's definitely gonna. There's gonna be some info that comes out that's gonna be not looked at too favorably when everything's poured out on the table, when you see the market manipulation, when you get into court and the prosecutors are like, yeah, this is how you manipulated the markets. This is how you stole money. This is what you did. This is how many people did this. And then he's going to be like, well, I'm not the only one that's doing it. And next thing you know, it's going to be the headlines are going to be, hey, crypto's full of fraud. Everything's fake, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just saying, it's not going to be a good look. You know what is a good look? Some badass TA from a badass analyst, Magic Internet Money. So without further ado, let's bring in the TA genius and guru himself, Magic.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up, bro?
Hey, welcome.
Hey,
Nice
thanks
to
for
see you
having me.
again.
Always appreciate it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've actually met you on the right. What's your name?
My name is Kyler. I usually do
All right.
production. I just kind of hang out.
I was trying to keep everybody straight. I think I've seen you do some impressions before, so we'll familiar.
Yeah, I'm in the chat as Vegas Free Baller. So if you're,
I'll definitely I'll interact. All right.
So I don't know how much of this conversation you caught beforehand, but what is your first knee-jerk reaction? One, you got Sam Bankman-Fried putting showing up for the arraignment today. He is expected to put in a not guilty plea. Caroline Ellison is ratting him out from top to bottom. And yeah, there's going to at least be a scheduled court date here in the near future, which the estimation is that we won't get there and that Sam Bankman-Fried will put in a guilty plea later on down the road. He's using this as a bargaining chip. Just kind of what's your initial thoughts on about just everything that's kind of transpiring as of lately?
I'm surprised to hear that he's going to put in a not guilty plea, to be honest with you. But if he's putting that in and Caroline's flipping, it's one of those things where it's all speculation. None of us really know until, the details come out, and maybe those aren't even the real facts. But I have to think that they're going to turn on each other in that instance, and he's going to try to throw Hunter under the bus, if I had to guess. So that would be my theory on it. Otherwise, I don't see why he would go not guilty. I feel like he would probably try to get some kind of a plea deal out of it, because it seems like there's overwhelming amount of evidence and people from the inside are now flipping on him. So I don't see him, doing too much as far as like getting out of this situation. At least I hope he doesn't get out of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the guy walk on this, because whether he knew about it or not, at some point you have to look at it and be like, it doesn't matter. Ignorance and is not an excuse for negligence, and is an excuse for, breaking the law. That doesn't fly in any other capacity. So he would have to prove that they knowingly and willfully, probably maliciously, tried to set him up as a fall guy. And at that point, then, he can take this road. But I think that's a tough battle right there. So be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting if it did go to trial, as highly as unlikely as that is. But, we were kind of discussing, he kind of said F the lawyer's advice before and went on his little media tirade out there incriminating himself in the process. So would it completely floor me if he did show up to court and he's so delusional that he thinks literally that maybe he thinks, hey man, I did nothing wrong. At least nothing fraudulent. I mismanaged, and I didn't take people's assets seriously, but I hope we don't, man. I hope we don't go to court. Either way, that's all speculative. We'll see as this all kind of plays out. Now, there's been there's been a lot of back and forth and a lot of discussion when it comes to DCG and Genesis and their Lend protocol. They've been getting called out by what's the twins' names? I forget.
Winklevoss
twins. Yeah.
Winklevoss Bros. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, we kind of covered that yesterday. But what's going on? DCG is being accused of commingling funds with Genesis, and Genesis obviously halted all of their assets for the users. And if DCG, because they have so much liquidity and they have so much loans everywhere, and they're an integral part of our system, if they were to go under, if DCG were to go under, we're talking about a major spill off in crypto where we could see some new cycle lows. Maybe we get down to that 12K mark, whatever it is. I'm trying to lay out a doomsday scenario for you here, bro. That's where I'm getting at. If news broke, if news broke and we were talking pandemonium in the streets, crypto companies are going under. What do you think is going to happen with crypto? What is the worst case scenario? It's kind of our theme today. Worst case scenario for Bitcoin if all hell broke loose. And feel free to kind of go through the charts and how you like.
I'll share my screen. Yeah, for sure. In terms of like a worst case scenario, breaking down is going to be not great. And you go out to like I would say a weekly is probably going to get it best. You can already see where everybody's targeting right down here in this region, right? We're all looking for 13.8 down to like 12K, which is essentially this zone right here. So you just be looking to back test these local highs in this instance, give or take a few dollars. Everyone's going to have a level that might be a few dollars different, but they're all relatively in the same area. I mean, worst case scenario is you reach this zone of support and it's not support. If you want to know the truth, this is the worst case scenario. You break through this level because if you look at the move up here and how quick it was, you don't have anyone really getting their stop losses ran, things like that. There's no real established support right here. So you'd be looking probably down to like the 2020 open in the $7,000 to $8,000 range, in my opinion. I know 10K is there. So on a wick basis, it's fine to dip below this level, of course. But yeah, worst case scenario, if something like that happened and we reached these levels, I'm opportunistic at these levels. Like I want these levels because I think it's a great opportunity for potentially a swing long, something we've discussed before. However, worst case scenario is maybe it doesn't end up being support. It's a level everyone is eyeballing and you end up going through it, taking out these lows and running it much deeper. And then at that point, I don't see it stopping at like 7K. I think it would just go back to 3. But that's the doomsday scenario. And I don't see that happening without like a massive catalyst that could be coming from the government. It could come from something like DCG. For me, what I'm looking for is an opportunity to find a long, because we're just so far down in this move that looking for swing shorts in this region is not a great idea. So someone asked me last night, am I holding any other positions outside of the shorts from up here? No, I'm looking for a long. I am hunting for one, so to speak, but price hasn't quite done anything for me to justify holding a position longer. If I could get something like this is the move I am looking for, is something like this. And this would be over the next coming weeks. I believe it's this guy right here. It would be basically coming down into this zone, right? And this would be essentially like a deep crab. It's a reversal pattern. And it's just got Fibonacci convergence into macro support. I would then be looking to long this at least to the B pivot, which is all the way back up at like 18K and some change. So you're looking to go from 12 to 14K to 18K, which is, almost a 50% move. And then anything after that, it's gravy. The big levels that I would really, really want to see if we start breaking bullish, to kind of like not talk too bearishly, if we get that action, we get that action. But I would really love to come up to this region. We talked about this a couple months ago, was that we would have the potential to revert back to the 2022 average, which is now the 2023. We refer to them as key levels. Some people will call them pivots. It really depends on how you calculate it. They're all calculated slightly different, but this would essentially be a price average of the prior year, which was also what you had up here. This was the price average of the prior year here. And that's why we were looking for shorts here. So like 48K was an obvious short zone. This was a very easy short. This right here would be, I wouldn't know if it was the same. I would be more on the side that if we made this reversion to the mean, it's very unlikely we make new lows after that. You'd be looking at a potential bottom. But again, price has to do something to make me want to trade that. So for me, until we're convincingly back inside of like 17.5 and trading up into that like 19.1 region, $19,000 region right here, this little zone, that to me looks good for the potential of coming up and taking these local highs. And you haven't taken them since the middle of the summer, so that would be the move. But if we don't see a move like that, one thing we mentioned, when you revert back to the mean, which and Bitcoin for this time frame does it at like an 80 to 90% rate, the times that it doesn't, it goes the opposite direction really hard. So it means you're trending even harder. So that would imply a move lower into these like lower ranges right here. So that would be kind of the worst case scenario, is that you don't make this mean reversion this year and that you come down, you break through support, and you maybe never come back to this in the time frame in the next session, which is a year long. That happened in 2021. So this is the same thing for 2020 right here. And it projects out in 2021. So this was your 2020 average at 20,688.50. This is one of the instances where we didn't come back to it. And I had this level marked for quite some time because as we were breaking down, everyone's saying, well, it's 25K right here, which was a really nice target. That was a good level to identify in advance. However, you had to know that the high probability was you were going to come back and backfill this, as they almost always get filled in. So for me, this was always going to be the target. And then it became a key level throughout the range because I knew that if we were holding on to it, we could basically go to 25K. If we're living below it, we test the bottom of the range. So you just use it as like an EQ. And yeah, I mean, I'd be looking to do much the same with this year's average. It's at 26,724 for anyone that wants to know. That would be the level that if this starts to get really out of hand like this, let's say it's a falling wedge and none of us get those lower prices, right? Let's say we are getting something like this and we get that bullish reversal and it's like a multi-month rally, you want to target your local highs first, of course. You want to start taking profits in these regions on that confirmed break, because you don't want to get caught in like a swing failure pattern or a failed auction to the upside. But these would be the highs I'd be targeting into this level right here that's just above it. It'd be a back test of the old range. And it really is kind of a zone once you get up here, but this would be kind of the high likelihood statistical target I'd be looking for. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the chart right now in terms of like a macro view. It's neither here nor there in the sense that you don't really have a great bull setup and you don't really have a great bearish setup either. Like both setups are there, but where you're at in terms of the range and where price is at, it's kind of a wait and see, unfortunately. And maybe it is a news catalyst like DCG and Genesis getting into it that gives us the move in either direction. Or maybe it's the government. We won't know. Maybe it's Sam Bankman-Fried news again. Who knows? That's stuff that I honestly almost know nothing about DCG and what's going on. I don't trade it. I have no funds associated with those exchanges. So to me, it's just one of those things where I kind of just keep trading the chart. And locally, this is a really easy range. If you guys want the easy range for what's going on right now, I would just recommend, you're looking at price and you're saying, okay, where are my key inflection points? This is something we did today on our live stream on the Leading Crypto channel, just to give people an idea of how you can set your ranges up without using indicators or tools. And this will teach you quite a bit in doing so. So I'm gonna get rid of that. And you just start boxing it off and just saying, okay, here's my range highs. We've swung failed this level right here. This is now resistance, okay? You did have a pattern at play. And so this is how I identify the EQ, which I used this as the shark. I've shown you guys this before. So what we're going to do is use this B leg because that's going to serve as your EQ, right? And we're going to box that off as well just with these candle bodies right here. So the nearest candle bodies, so you've got a nice little zone yet again, and we'll go ahead and do that. And you could come down to the lows now and you could say, okay, where are my lows? You've got very clear lows right here, right? So you're essentially looking to trade this like so. Oops, I messed that up, didn't I? Maybe. Got to zoom in for this one because I messed it up here. Well, we'll just delete it and do it over. There you go. We're just coming down like so.
For the chat, if there's any projects that you like us to pass on to Magic to take a look at, or any tokens that you're curious about, let us know as well.
Yeah. So this is essentially your range, right? So very easily done. You could do this in a much more technical fashion if you wanted to, but you can see that 16,950 to 17,174 is kind of the middle of the range, but it's also going to serve as resistance for now. And you can see we've been butting up against it. And you could have had these levels as soon as this completed, basically. So you would have known, okay, I'm looking for this here, but typically speaking, let's say that you're looking for a longer term position. Finding one in the middle of the range traditionally isn't going to be the best place to look. Now, could you get a partial decline, which is just a fancy way of saying a higher low right here, and then it goes up? Sure, that can happen. And then you would be using the retest of this area with your stop loss below as invalidation so that you wouldn't be hung out to dry with a stop loss way down here. So in that instance, that can happen. And you have to be aware of that. But the best trades come from the low of the range, right? In the top of the range. That's where you want to be trading. You want to be trading up here if you're looking for something to hold longer than a few hours or a day, or you want to be trading down here because you have the best invalidation, meaning that the position is the least amount of risk. So that would be how I would be looking at this, is that you're kind of in no man's land. You can take some trades in here, but just understand that I would be getting in and out of those because it's going to be very choppy. So they're going to be not going to be trying to, but you're going to be getting stopped out of a lot of positions if you're holding them to be home runs. Otherwise, you're probably running with a really loose stop, or you're running with no stop at all, which I don't advise. And to the downside, go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, to the downside, if you want to trigger for downside here, the 2023 open is marked for a reason. The yearly opens are usually pretty important, like in price. If you were to look back to the yearly open previous, you could go through all the yearly opens. We'll go to the daily. It's just easier to see. These are your yearly opens, a very well respected level in Bitcoin's history. And you could go back in time and see the 2020 open right here. Resistance, resistance, flip to support. The move up continues, right? So same thing with our 2023 open, our 2021 open, and our 2022 open on the back test, essentially right here, fails to hold it, and down you go. So even if you missed 48K, you had a really nice entry where you're like, okay, we've given up the yearly open. I should be trading this back to the bottom of this local range. And the same thing is going to go for here. If you start breaking below 16,530, one would expect to see the bottom of the range in those lower targets again, and we get to play the game of, okay, will this range hold, or are we going to come down to these broader, more high time frame targets? And that's where your indicators, I guess, do come in handy. Things like order flow. Some people use momentum indicators, obviously, but I prefer order flow in that instance. I want to see the open interest, and I want to see the delta supporting the move. And if it ends up being a fake out, that's also going to let me know that, and basically showing me that we have trap traders and that this has recovered some levels that are underwater and can become fuel to the upside. So for me, it's a pretty simple range, no other way to really put it, I guess.
Mhm. I heard you mention that you're not too familiar with DCG. We're going to be discussing that a little bit further later
Yeah,
on in the
I'm
show.
happy to learn about it.
Yeah, but just to give you a little insight, and for our viewers as well, they're supposedly the first OTC desk. So if institutions or exchanges are trying to buy Bitcoin in large amounts, they were one of the first providers launching in I think 2013, and then also how we got to where we're at is that they were big investors in Babel. And also in Three Arrows Capital. So they've taken substantial losses there. Their other company that they work with, or one of their subsidiaries, is Genesis, which has halted trading. And their one of their biggest contributors to Bitcoin or to crypto is that they also own Grayscale, or sister company. Either way, it's another company. So Grayscale, which is the largest Bitcoin wallet. So there is fears that if there's insolvency issues with Genesis, which it appears to be, and there's bankruptcy, if there's co-mingling of funds, perhaps there would be a liquidation of the Bitcoin trust. I think that is an extreme scenario that is has a chance to play out, but not quite so likely. We'll get into that in a moment. But I want to talk about Solana.
Sure.
So, obviously something that's in the top 20 was in the top 5 at one point at its height. And, a lot of movement. And we know why. Obviously, FTX was a huge backer of Solana, and with them going under, how much Solana did they personally liquidate? But without further ado, big Solana rally today. It was as low as $8.30, I think it was 2 days ago. And right now trading at $12.91. I saw it over $13 this morning. What are the Solana charts telling you, brother?
Sure. We actually talked about this one when I came on the first time. I said, I'm looking for 278 over time. So it doesn't get there all at once. But if you recall, we had one range up. This is the exact same range right here. So you're at the EQ of it. And so this is how I had pulled that range with the global point of control as the target here at 278. All right. So that's all that was just leaving this up so that I had something to work off of. You can see it's been back tested. So you've confirmed that you're within this range now. You're kind of in the middle here, but what you ran into was your gold pocket in the EQ of the range. And so you have a 50%, barometer essentially getting into that range. You're going to see a bounce because it's about the mid range. And you don't typically go from the high of the range to the bottom of the range in one big move. Although this would beg to differ, but you are getting that move into essentially technical support for me. And now would I take this trade? I've kind of made my stance clear that I'm probably not going to be buying Solana at any point. I was in a Solana short up here, and Bybit is where I trade, and they halted the Solana perpetual pair, so I couldn't short it anymore. So they essentially closed my position and funded me with the Solana and told me if I didn't take it off the exchange, they were converted into, I think it was like Bit token or something. But yeah, you're bouncing, and you're actually coming back to some bi-weekly levels that we had on the chart previously as well. Same levels. So when we were on here, it was all the way back in this region, I think. But you're finding a rejection here, and again, formal resistance between 1371 and 1434. If you clear that, now this is a big inefficiency here. Could you see a larger rally? Sure, yeah, you could see a fairly good sized rally all the way back up to like $32. But in reality, nothing changes until you're essentially back out of this range for me. So I would be looking at Solana as if it doesn't recover $60, which I think is really optimistic to even suggest that it might attempt that. that would probably imply a Bitcoin rally, not a dump, obviously, as well. The whole markets would probably be doing a little bit, better, healthier, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, this is destined for these lower targets, in my opinion. The next one coming in is like 474, 363, and 278. I do think it's going to be a matter of patience. I personally wouldn't risk holding this token if it were me, but I mean, that's to each their own. I'm not here to judge anyone for how they invest in crypto.
If Bybit was to allow shorting again, would you consider taking another short position?
Yeah, I would definitely. I would be looking at the chart and saying, okay, can I get a confirmed reversal somewhere? Is it going to backtest this resistance, which I think is pretty lofty to get to, especially off this move? Or does this resistance hold, and then I can short it back down to the mid range and try to hold it into these lower targets? That's how I would look at it. A lot of times, what you want to see is like a technical setup. You want to see like a swing fail. Or like in this case right here. So let's say that you saw this coming down here, and you see that you've got your daily low here. It's been swept. It's been confirmed as support. Now you've got a clear stop loss and invalidation below the low. So you can now work out risk management. Okay, what do I want to risk? 1%, 2%, 3%. And I'm going to long this up to the nearest resistance, which comes in all the way up here, takes out all these shorters that got in on this big red candle. And I would probably be exiting that trade as you're looking like you're coming back into resistance here, right around 1371 to 1434. And you may even consider flipping short here. Like if you go down to like the 4 hour or something, maybe you're getting that swing fail here. Some people call them dojis, but we've taken the high, closed back below it, and then regard it as resistance. Then you want to watch like whatever your trigger indicator is, whether it's a momentum indicator, whether it's open interest, delta, whatever that may be. Just make sure that you're using that in confluence with it to take it back down to whatever levels are there. The first one would probably be a very quick first take profit here. And then I would map out the next one here. Like I would just start scaling out of the position into this and then leaving some to ride, of course, because if you think it's got broader potential, doesn't mean you have to be all in or all out of a position. You want to make sure that you're securing capital along the way. That's one of the most important things about trading is making sure that you get paid, right? Pay yourself
little bits.
Little bits, but don't leave everything to an all or nothing mindset. Maybe leave some to run, especially if your thesis is that it's going to come down and make a new low. There's no point in exiting the whole position. And let the market tell you that you're going to be wrong. It's a very important part of holding swing trades, because a lot of people will make a little bit of money and then exit the whole thing, and then it keeps going, and they're like, oh, do I get back in? They don't know. So that's tough though. That takes a lot of experience, in my opinion, and it comes with time. And then I would just mark this one out as well, this weekly open. This is where I would be looking at right here, is these levels to the downside, these white levels. So this is resistance. Clear this resistance, and I think that you've got a fairly quick move up to these local, the last local lows and highs. This would be the target zone right there. I'd start working into this as resistance right there. So, and that would be a pretty nasty move, to be honest with you. What is that, like $14 all the way? That'd be like 100%. That'd be pretty wild to see. It's not unheard of though in crypto with the volatility that we have. So,
cool. Yeah, I mean, it would only take like one big money player to come in and make those kind of swings, right?
Yeah,
potentially, on some of the alts.
So we got some requests from the chat. Probably too many for us to cover. So I'll just kind of list them down, and then if there's one of these that you are excited about, just go ahead and feel to cover it. So the chat has requested Filecoin, XRP, VeChain, Avalanche, Casper, and Gala. Any of those stand out to you that you might want to take a look at? Filecoin,
so I've looked
XRP.
At Gala. I can look at XRP. So I'm actually really familiar with the XRP chart. Okay. And this is one I trade frequently because I do think it offers up some decent trades. Is it this one? This is the one. Yeah, we're going to go to log for this. It's kind of an ugly chart in log, actually.
Then while you're kind of pulling it up, I just want to give a little love to the chat. Guys, let's hit the like button. We're at less than 50% like here. So do us a favor. If you like Magic Internet Money, if you find value from what he's saying, because I surely am, make sure you hit the like button, support the channel. If you're driving in your car, pull over, hit the like button, and then get back on the road. So real quick, a little shout out to some of the new people. We do have Mark, Aru, Carrie, Chaos, Aaron, J Horn. We got Night Horse, Parth, Nicola, HVAC, Dave, Burmax, Trey, Lag, Jackie T, Bradley Clark. Hola! Welcome, Sin City Crypto. And Jimmy dropped another 10 gifted memberships as well.
Man, look at this guy.
Flex your emojis in the chat
too. Also, and then we got Root in here. and as well. So hola to all of you. So, all right. So what's which one are we looking at? XRP.
This is XRP. So I went ahead and went out to the quarterly chart for you guys. So 3-month per candle.
Okay.
And I'm marking this level right here at about 33.24 cents. And I just remember that this was a back test. So as we're looking at it, you can see this is going to be your kind of your major support zone for what we've got going on right now. Now, there is a pretty large macro reversal pattern at play here. So this is called a bat pattern. And what this does is it establishes a 50% range right here at the B leg. So you can see this is a 50% drop, the 0.568 right here. And then you have a range. And once it breaks down, it expands to usually the 886. So a really deep retrace with a confluence of at least a 1618 expansion of the B to C leg. So you have like a Fibonacci zone that you're looking for. It's not meant to give you an exact price. For me, the exact price was 29 cents due to a point of control that was left naked and a yearly pivot that was left naked. So I had kind of a zone there. But in the immediate short term, what you want to see out of a pattern like this, these are pretty large patterns, is you want to see some symmetry. And you do have symmetry here. So if you were just to measure the length of the beginning of this to the B leg, you can see that it's almost a 1-to-1 identical move. So this was a very quick move here because it's a weekly chart. However, the expansion from C to D almost mirrors X to A. So very similar moves. So if you're looking for a reversal to the upside, you've got the exact same amount of time it took to go up is the exact same amount of time it's taken to go down, which is generally a good sign when you're looking at these types of reversals. So measuring it like that, you just want to see this D leg right here holding. So you want to see this low coming in at 28.704 cents holding, and early indications that you're probably going to challenge it and potentially make a new low down to like the 17 and 19 cent region is going to be lost to this 33.24 cents. And I would really want to see that more on like a weekly or a monthly closure because this is a pretty large high time frame. Now, you've already come up to your Q1 low from last year. So if we went back to the quarterly charts and you looked at the 3-month candles, all this is your Q1 low after you began breaking down. So this was your low right here. It's been resistance for 6 months now, give or take. So we know that 54 cents is also going to be a very, very important level on the chart. I usually mark out the quarterly lows if they're relevant, and the Q1 low has been relevant both in the stock market and in Bitcoin. So on XRP and most altcoins, because a lot of crypto charts look the same because they all kind of just follow the lead, it's no different. So you would be looking at this, we got to get back above 50 cents. And if I do, my first target obviously is going to be this B leg. We've talked about this, where this is where your high time frame range before you got expansion on this pattern took place. So when you look at it in that regard, this is going to be the area of interest right here. And you can see it was resistance, 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 and then down. I'm going to get rid of this real quick just to clean it up.
And then, guys, if you're fans of XRP, just drop a 1 in the chat. I want to know how many XRP homers we have.
Throw the emoji if you got it.
And the emoji.
Yeah, I've seen the emoji flying around. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not like an XRP lover. I tend to think that the community, they bring the people that don't like the coin onto themselves a little bit, but there's nothing wrong with the way this coin trades. It's not manipulated, anything like that. It's been trading very technical. I put a video out, in fact, and this is still up on TikTok, in like July 13th, 2021. So that puts you all the way right here. We were at like 50 cents. I think we were down here. And I told him it would go to like $1.35, and then we'd see 29 cents most likely. And that video got more hate than any video I got, and it went straight to $1.41 and down to 29 cents.
Well,
and so I was like,
well, you know what? I'm not surprised because there's so many ones in the chat and so many XRP emojis. Question: we've discussed before with XRP potential what I think the price would rally to with a favorable court hearing or court resolution, whether it's a dismissal or perhaps a favorable settlement towards this XRP. What would be your most bullish scenario? Let's just say we had some super bullish news. All of a sudden, you're in price discovery. What do you think are some landing zones for XRP if the court case settled in XRP's favor and there was just a lot of FOMO going into XRP?
Nobody wants to hear this, but I would probably say $1.09. That's not. If they settle the court case, it's not going to create an all-time high for XRP, and that is probably something nobody wants to hear. But this is the facts of the matter. In the environment that we're in, XRP is not going to decouple from the market and create an all-time high. Most likely, I shouldn't say it won't because I don't have a crystal ball. But to me, as a trader, as someone that's looking at this only opportunistically, like how do I just make money from this? That would be what I'd be looking for. I wouldn't be looking for all-time highs unless the rest of the market was going along with it, meaning Bitcoin and traditional markets. That said, that doesn't mean that's a death sentence to the coin because I said $1.09. That's just your macro point of control, if I recall, from ATAS, which is a different charting software that I use to find time, price, opportunity, and volume. And it does line up really nicely with your first target of this. So that said, yeah, I mean, $1.09 would be I'd have to see that level reclaimed. And that's so far away because you got to think that is literally a 300% move, you know? Q&T did something very similar recently. And in a bear market, if you get a 300% rally and you're not taking profits, man, that's a tough pill to swallow later on, I have a feeling. But that said, you know, do I think that it'll make all-time highs in the future? It really just depends on, you know, if they're adopting and doing the things that they say they are doing. And if they are, then yeah, you could see some, you know, higher valuations. Do I think you're going to see the $100 XRP, things like that? Absolutely not.
No.
Not to be rude, but I don't think that's going to happen, at least not anytime soon. You know, you'd have to, you know, really wait. And somebody's saying 20, sorry. Hey, I'm sorry too, but if you think XRP is going to $20 overnight from the SEC, you know, dismissing the case, it's not very probable.
I thought I was being absurdly bullish by saying $3 in previous episodes. So $10 I think is
when I bought in space in 2017. Just so you guys know,
yeah,
XRP got me into crypto, like it did. But it also turned me into a trader because I held XRP from 3 cents all the way through the all-time high in 2017 and 18, and I held it all the way back down to $1.20 before I took profits.
Also, we have had Ms. Lessie says, can you take a look at HBAR? You know, we did have Mance Harmon, the one of the co-founders of Hedera Hashgraph on the show last month. Sure. We do believe that there is a good potential for HBAR to take the lion's share of corporate and venture capital money that was lost from the Solana investments. So perhaps, you know, the money that came from venture capital and institutions that was in Solana, maybe it'll funnel over to HBAR. You know, ICP is also another contender. But what's your thoughts on HBAR? And then also, while you pull up the charts, I'm just going to give a little love to the chat as well. We got Jose Reyes, Stony. We got the Zero Bird, Eddie V, Alan Decker, unavailable. To all of you. Hola! Welcome. Sin City Crypto.
I created a war in your chat. I'm sorry. I got a lot of XRP haters because I'm not on that.
Oh, man. We love a little volatility, man. Volatility in the markets are good. Volatility in the chat is good as well.
We love seeing people in the chat. Yeah. Come share your opinion.
I'm not trying to squash anyone's dreams. If you think I'm wrong, do what you think is best with your money. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you from a trader's perspective.
Somebody that like the realistic
for a living.
Yeah, the realistic version is always you know, because we had no shortage of people talking about Bitcoin going over 100K last bull run, and you know, there wasn't enough people. It wasn't enough people like, hey guys, let's be realistic here.
Temper expectations. So not everybody's going to the moon.
When people say, like, I see Bitcoin maxis and I see XRP army guys, I guess that's what we'll call them, XRP maxis. They're arguing in the chat over use case and stuff right now. And I'll be upfront with you guys. If you identify with something, an investment especially, that hard, you may take a second look at it. If you go through history, people that identify that hard with, you know, use case or with this one asset generally they didn't buy a lottery ticket. You know, the winning lottery ticket. They generally bought something they're going to bag hold into the ground. And in crypto, the most speculative market of all, like, I'd be careful. I'd just stay diversified. Doesn't mean don't invest in it. Just understand the risks that are involved in that. Because I know everyone always says, well, do more research then. At what point is research a diminishing return because you're just looking for validation on a confirmation bias at that point? You're only going to keep researching and looking towards sources that are going to validate your ideas and what you want to happen. So you have to kind of take a little bit more of an objective look, in my opinion. But again, that's only my opinion. I'm not trying to tell anyone that what they're doing is wrong. I'm just saying from my perspective and from what I've done as a trader and investor over time, it seems to be the strategy that's worked for me. So I try to share that with others. So yeah, enough about that. HBAR. HBAR is a chart that we've been watching for a little over a year. And so shout out to Tar Heel in our trading group. He put this together a year ago, and there's a pretty big HBAR influencer on TikTok that does TA, and he was real big on HBAR up here at like 33 and 28 cents. And I remember just being like, this thing's going sub 10 cents. He was calling for 1.5 cents on HBAR almost a year ago. So he's still calling for that. And this is the zone that I'm looking to start accumulating. And we're very, very close. You can see we've pretty much tapped it at this point. So I don't know if you can actually see these lines. So I'm going to go ahead and put a box right here. This is the zone that we would be looking to potentially accumulate HBAR again, where I think it's of good value. And
this is actually something I got on the radar here. So I'm glad you're talking about potential entry points, because this was one of my on the list to add to the DCA portfolio.
I think I'm not a huge altcoin guy, obviously. Like I've got, specific ones that I'm targeting, like, Polkadot. Atom is another one that I've been buying, or trading a little bit more, but I am planning to buy to hold, just waiting for the market to kind of give me that, okay, we're looking like we can hold alts for a while. And I think that identifying the best areas to buy them at the same time is going to give you that extra edge where you're not just blindly buying into them. You have a reason. Like, this is a really good zone of risk where it's like, okay, the risk is really low from here. It can't go too much lower. Does that mean that's a good strategy? No, but there's technical levels here in terms of horizontals for support. And it's just right here in that sweet spot. And if the timing is right with the rest of the market, it makes for a really good play where you could get this and, you could see something go all the way back to like 13 cents, or all the way back up here in this would be like 9 cents. But even if it goes to like 2 cents, that's a 400% return, and as a trader, you don't have to do that very many times to do quite well. And I'm sure you guys know this as investors that, a 4X in a down market's not a bad thing. And especially if you're not shorting and you don't need any leverage for this, like that's where people get really in trouble, is they use leverage, especially on altcoins. These are spot plays where I've timed my entry well, I've got a plan, I'm comfortable with my risk, and boom, there you go. You get a nice return. So
real quick, I just want to cover some breaking news real quick. We do have Sam Bankman-Fried has pled not guilty to all charges in the FTX fraud case. I think he was facing 8 charges with over 110 years in prison. He has pleaded not guilty to all of those, and is now official and not speculative. So
we got that Shaggy song. Wasn't me.
They caught me on the blockchain. Wasn't me.
Spending all your tokens. Wasn't me.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there. I just wanted to cover that.
No, it's okay. I think there's a misconception in the chat. I do want you guys to understand that as much as I love crypto, I'm very heavily short Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies from almost a year ago. So my main goal out of crypto right now is life-changing money. It is not.
Man, don't worry about what these people in the chat are saying over here, man.
I'm not used to it. I'm like, man, I'm getting some serious hate here. Some people
we're used to the haters, man. They hated on me so much I had to stop wearing my hat, man.
You want to get some serious hate? Try and do a Macho Man impersonation, bro. You'll feel some hate. I thought
you did great. Honestly, I was impressed. I was like, dude, this guy's nailing it, because I'm like a huge wrestling fan. Like, I'm a Macho Man guy, Rowdy Piper, the whole thing. I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. So.
All right, and then one last project, if you don't mind. We know that Litecoin had broken out. So Litecoin broke a key resistance level, and also you have the halving coming up for Litecoin. I know there was a lot of volume in Litecoin in comparative to some of the other projects in the similar market cap range. What is the Litecoin charts telling you? And then I'm also, while you pull that up, I'm just going to take a look at the chat here. And I don't see anybody new, actually. Never mind.
Also, very quick, that Crypto Billy is a well.
Oh yeah. So Crypto Billy hit his 4 months on being a whale member. So big shout out to Billy there, one of the dear friends of the community here. We do have Crypto Trends is new here. And to you, hola! Welcome, Sin City Crypto.
All right. So I actually have not looked at, so this is the very first chart in our academy for learning how to trade, basically, or chart, I guess. It was Litecoin. It was an example. So I did this in December of last year. This was the low that we were looking for right here. It's been taken at this point. I don't trade Litecoin, so I don't keep up on it, but I always get people that come into the group and they watch that first video and then they look at the Litecoin chart and are like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, all the levels are hitting. So looking to get a swing fail of this local low. So very similar to like what Bitcoin did, we were talking about, you know, when it went up in 2020, where you got this fast move up, you would expect to see this low taken as you're starting to break structure down, which again, right here is a really big area on the chart to not be losing. And I would say I'd actually put more emphasis up here at like 122 and 144 personally. But yeah, you are getting a bounce here with some technical levels. You had a nice range that had formed right here. Boom, boom, boom. Now you're back above it. You need to see it holding, oh, what is this? $64.51. Living above, that's a good thing. So you can see you've wicked below it, settled up on it right away. That's also your next daily support. So in reality, if you were looking at this as an overall move, you are trying to trade above the overall range in the local range. So I would be looking to the EQ of this larger annual range. That's all this is 2 annual levels, then basically turned into a parallel channel. I would be looking for $83 as the SFP level here on the weekly time frame, excuse me, not the daily, weekly time frame. If you crack $81, the next level to the upside is probably, it looks like 106. So if you can get through this level and turn it into support at 83, you've actually got like another 20% to the upside here before you reach any real resistance. That'd be a nice move. You know, I don't know that it's going to go much higher than that. Without doing any like serious volume work on it and looking at the ranges that have played out. This only has horizontals that I've put on there from high time frames. But if you start breaking below 64 cents here, or not 64 cents, $64, which is that weekly level where you started to settle up right here, then yeah, I would expect to see this low challenged again at like 53.39 most likely, or at least the EQ around 55. So $55 to $53 seems likely. And then we play the game of, are we putting in a larger range here? Is it reaccumulation distribution? It's kind of hard to tell here. Let's see. Yeah, that's what I'd want. Oh, we're in log. Yeah, you've already come back to the gold pocket. Yeah, so if you start breaking back down below this, you've already tagged your golden pocket. You don't want to see $64 lost. You lose $64 short of an SFP here into like $60 and these lows. I would expect to see a bounce here and then probably continuation down to the low 40s and maybe even a re-challenge of that 41.59 support over time. So it would be important for Litecoin to range between $64 and $83 without breaking back down. I think that is going to be your overall range for now. If you wanted to do something a little bit different, you could very easily say, okay, this is my breakdown point. I've got a very nice local range. And again, kind of confirming what we were just looking at. This one says 66, but about $64 here. You lose that and you're going to head back down to the 40s. Point of control is $53. That's that local low we were just talking about. So yeah, I would say if you break back into this region, I would not be interested in trading this again until I'm back in this zone of the chart. I'm going to get rid of this real quick. There we go. I would be very interested in this area, and that would be it. Otherwise, I do think that you have the potential for a range up here where you could be ranging in this zone, which could turn into more, you know. So that's what you want to do is, if I was long here, I would be looking to take profits probably at like the gold pocket, maybe see what the overall point of control here is of that section of price, which you're now hitting. So this is a big resistance in terms of to the upside for continuation. So if you were long from here, this is a take profit. And then if it can't crack above 83, it's probably going to re-challenge 64. And if lost, you're going to see, you know, $47 to $50 again, which isn't the end of the world. Again, it's not. Now, if you break below $41, you're going to 29. Most likely, I shouldn't say you're going there, but good chance you're going to $29. But if you, again, break to the upside, you got 106. I have no real, like, you guys will notice that I don't really give a whole lot of like, this is what I think is going to happen, because it's not really about knowing what's going to happen. I do want to emphasize that. That's one thing that I like to touch on is in the market, you can be wrong and profitable. I would rather be profitable, even if I'm wrong, because you can do that as long as you're positioning yourself correctly. Like I was a big proponent on Bitcoin that when we got up to these upper ranges up here, that we didn't know what was going to happen. And so my targets in the summer here were either going to be 19,228 and 20,688.50 or 58,822. I did not make up my mind until about right here to get long. Because something in the chart convinced me that it was time to get long. We recovered a major point of control in a range that we had given up. And I knew it was going to be a failure to break down at that point. And so my target immediately turned to $58,000. So I did not sell the top on Bitcoin. I sold it like 58.8, right? And then it made a new high. And I was like, okay, well, this is a larger range, but it could be reaccumulation. We won't know until this range resolves. And that's really important to know, is that there were many trades you can take in between here, but identifying the best trade at the time was right here. For me, once I had made up my mind that this is probably going to be a breakdown range and I'm going to be looking for these lower targets, I did not get to do that at the top. I didn't get to do it right here. I did eventually find that position here through patience, but I didn't know it was going to happen. And you don't have to. You just have to make good decisions, I guess, in the moment is the best way to put it. And if you can make good decisions and limit your risk, you're going to be just fine long term. Unfortunately, everybody wants to be a crystal ball and like live and die by their own predictions, right? And that's either going to pan out really well or it's not. And generally it pans out really well in bull markets because everything goes straight up, right? But once the tides turn a little bit, it's a little bit tougher for people to kind of shift gears and change that mentality a little bit. The buying and holding is kind of gone.
Yeah, people just want answers, man. They want to know, like, what do I have to do to be a millionaire? And it's like, come on, man. Let's be realistic.
You got to be consistent. That's it. Just consistent.
Yeah.
If that's what you want.
Well, thanks so much, man. I think we got we're running out of time here. So
always a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother.
Well, so a couple things. Is there anything that you want to leave us with? Any parting thoughts? I will say to the community, show Magic Internet Money some love. Go support his channel. And we got your link in the description as well. But yeah, you got anything? Any thoughts about maybe the coming year or anything you got working in the pipelines?
Yeah. So again, we're live every morning publicly on Leading Crypto. So if you guys are into that type of thing and trade analysis, we do cover Bitcoin, Ethereum. We get into traditional market stuff as well. But in terms of 2023, I think it's a year of great opportunity. None of us know what's going to happen, whether the bottom is in now or we see some deeper recession later in the year. We're all just kind of speculating, just like you. So my advice would be is to sit down and make a plan of action for yourself for both scenarios, and how you're going to navigate the market and how it's going to benefit you if that plan of action succeeds, or how it's going to hurt you if it fails. Write it down, level with yourself, because you are putting your capital at risk, whether you're just investing or you're trying to learn to trade, which is more of what we do. You have to sit down and establish that plan. You have to be able to go back and review it and see what you did right, especially because if you have good trending habits, you want to make sure you continue those, but you also want to be able to find the things that you can improve on as well. So that's all I would say, is always try to be a little bit better the next day. And eventually, if you're trying to be a millionaire, like you just said, consistency is key. And then one day you're just sitting at home talking about, fictitious magic internet beans on the internet, and that's all you do all day.
Mm-hmm. What time do you guys go live?
9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. I don't know what that is in Pacific. What is that, like 7 a.m.? Yeah, early for you guys.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, guys, go check them out, and Happy New Year to you, man. And we're always thankful to have you here on the channel, and we're gonna have you on more often as well. So thank you again, and Happy New Year, brother.
Hey, Happy New Year to you guys too. Cheers.
Cheers,
right,
man. It's always nice seeing you in the chat. We see you in there a lot.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
No, big supporter, guys.
Thank you.
Right on.
All right. Man, got all kinds of good TA there, bro. Litecoin, HBAR, Bitcoin. What else do we get? XRP. Yeah. Yeah, guys. Go help out and support the guys.
I love how he's like, best case scenario, you're not even gonna get back to your entry point. When it, like, for me personally, when I was listening to XRP, I'm like, shit, 109. No, I wouldn't even be back into my entry point. Damn, that would suck.
Yeah, it's probably more realistic to what's going to happen is to fall somewhere if there was a favorable outcome on the XRP case. I do think somewhere between $1 and $2 is probably more sound and realistic. I'm still in the camp that just off of sheer liquidity of listing on all these exchanges, I do understand that the exchanges did have, like Coinbase, for example, did have XRP listed. So I'm sure they haven't sold all their XRP in its entirety, but they probably don't have the liquidity needed for a relisting, at least not to provide enough liquidity for FOMO. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that are going to want exposure. A lot of people that I've talked to that wanted to buy XRP, and they're like, "Where do I get it?" And I'm like, "Well, you get it off KuCoin." They're like, "Oh, I can't get it on Binance." I'm like, .us. I'm like, "No." Can't get it on Coinbase. I'm like, "Nope." And so I think there's a lot of people that want XRP exposure that haven't been able to get it because it's not available on their US based exchanges. So anyways, let's wrap up the show with a big discussion. I know we kind of lightly talked about this going into the show, but you have the drama that is Genesis and DCG continues. And we had the Winklevoss twins stirring the pot. Now you have Suzu has joined into the discussion and talked about his thoughts on DCG and with Barry Silbert. And anyways, without further ado, let's take a look here. So we have 3AC CEO predicts how the crypto war between DCG and Genesis will end. So some key takeaways from this article here. We have Suzu, a co-founder of Three Arrows Capital, has spoken in a Twitter thread about the escalating crypto war between DCG, Barry Silbert, and the Winklevoss twins. Su jumps to the bandwagon, explaining that DCG conspired with FTX to attack Luna, staked ETH, and made a lot of money in the process. In addition, DCG suffered significant losses over the summer from the bankruptcy of 3AC, as well from Babel and other firms involved in GBTC, he says. Now, just to go a little further, we're going to take a look at the tweet thread as well. They could have calmly restructured. You know what? We'll actually discuss this on the Twitter thread here. But Suzu alleges that Silbert misled Three Arrows Capital for months, using various methods to attack us, and also not have anyone ask the hard questions, which how did Genesis fill the hole? So Genesis obviously underwater at the moment because nobody can get their funds out. And, how did they fill their hole after the Terra Luna collapse and also the collapse of FTX? Now, ultimately, according to the 3AC CEO, DCG's value is zero. And most OGs know this, and how close Barry and SBF have been since the beginning. SBF was on the board of Genesis. In addition, Genesis gave the first FTT secured loan, SBF. So, taking a look at the tweet thread. So this is what started a lot of the discussion. Here's a rough summary of DCG's situation. They conspired with FTX to attack Luna and staked ETH and made a fair bit doing so. So basically, they're saying that both. So Suzu is saying that both FTX and DCG were behind the Luna collapse, and perhaps they were just trying to manipulate the price to turn a profit and crash the whole damn system. So maybe they were just trying to squeeze a little bit of cash, but they ended up just breaking the whole damn thing. They took substantial losses in the summer from the bankruptcy of Babel and other firms involved in GBTC. They could have restructured then, but apparently they didn't, as his claims. Instead, they fabricated a left pocket, right pocket, and callable promissory note that magically filled the hole. This is like a kid losing at a poker game saying, "I'm fine, my dad will pay you. Let's keep playing," but if your dad is actually yourself. So very interesting. And the reason he's using this metaphor is that my dad will pay you. He's in reference to Genesis and his dad being DCG. But if the funds from both of these companies are commingled, then your dad is actually yourself, right? So back to the thread here. Suzu then says they like FTX proceeded to misdirect for months using various methods to attack us, and also not have anyone ask the hard question: is how did Genesis fill the hole? They, like FTX, spent 6 months taking more deposits with Insolvent and hoping the market would go up. So he's saying that they all the while are insolvent, trying to get customer deposits, which to his credit is true, right? Genesis could have halted deposits a while ago. It's not like they just simply discovered that they were underwater a week before. So obviously this was on the table, and they let more and more people deposit, but yet they knew it wasn't going to be able to hold up. So now DCG value is 0, is his claims. Criminal fraud. FTX creditors also have a case for fraudulent conveyance on Alameda's return of capital to Genesis. Most OGs are well aware of how close Barry and SBF were since the beginning. And then lastly, he rounds this out by saying Genesis creditors will push it into bankruptcy and take the remaining DCG assets in coming days either way. They are likely demanding Barry pays back his cash outs the easy way instead of waiting for the DOJ criminal case with restitution punishment. So, a lot to unpack here. So, let's first of all, before you take this as the gospel and a highly credible source, this is a man that is wanted on the run and owes a lot of people money and will probably face jail time whenever the hell he's caught. So there's one. There's two is the lack of admission that you had any fault with your own company's undoing. First of all, you were the CEO of Three Arrows Capital, the founder, and you took an unprecedented amount of risk in running your company, which ultimately failed, and yet you're pointing blame at other people. Now, with that disclosure out, there are some valid points here. There are some concerns, and I do think he is making some good points here. Kyler, what is your first takeaways when it comes to Suzu saying that DCG, which is the largest asset manager in crypto, straight up, if you were to combine Grayscale plus DCG, all of their investments, biggest player in crypto, period, end of story, insolvency issues, if this was to be true? What's your kind of takeaway here?
I don't know, man. What would happen to all that? You got to think that if these are like digital commodities that we're kind of dealing with, right? So there's a certain supply of them. What happens to that? If it starts to go bankrupt, where does that money go? Does it just get tied up? Does it end up going to like lawyer fees? Does it get paid out to their investors and the customers that ended up like high and dry? Like I feel like what's going to happen with FTX and what seems to be happening with these other bankruptcies, it seems like, the people with the money and the power are the ones that get made whole quicker. And I don't think FBX or any of these guys are really gonna, like, the customer doesn't come first. It's like how many people can we scam in order to get here? I'm not saying that DCG is a scam. I'm just saying like it's like the little people at the bottom of the pyramid are the least likely to get made whole again.
Definitely something that we've learned in this bear market. I mean, officially we were in a bear market, and was that perhaps these custodial agents, exchanges, and all of the subsidiaries that are tied into them, at the end of the day, when they go under, it's the users that don't get any returns, right? And right now, all we can do is speculate. How much money am I going to get back if I ever do? I wouldn't hold your breath on that. And as you mentioned, if DCG were to go under, what essentially does that even look like, for the users?
But I do like Zuzu as his on Twitter. He's listed himself as a perpetual optimist.
Oh.
So that's good. Perpetually staying out of jail.
There you go.
Way to go.
Also, just to kind of bring up the Grayscale Ethereum and Bitcoin. Everyone talks about the Bitcoin Trust, but what about Ethereum? So the Grayscale Ethereum Trust hits a record 60% discount. It's starting to become apparent that the trust, these Bitcoin trusts, Ethereum trusts, these might be a flawed model, right? And, we were discussing this last week, and if you buy this now at a discount, it just brings me back to when we were at the height of the bull market, and there was a premium of over 30% for Bitcoin trust. So you had to pay 30% more than the price of Bitcoin to get the equivalent out of the trust. And then lo and behold, the opposite has happened at the bottom of the bear market. So even though from an investment point of view, yes, you can buy Ethereum Trust at 60% off. But when it's time to exit, is it going to be reversed in the same way that it was just a year ago? Is the Ethereum Trust going to cost you an extra 30%? So your gains are going to be essentially negated. And all of the risk associated with getting in and out of these due to DCGs and Grayscale perhaps being forced to liquidate the trust. Now, if they were to liquidate the trust, the assets are owned by the users, so that would go directly to the users, but obviously at a loss. Now, more likely than not, if there was some kind of issue with Grayscale and DCG, they'll probably transfer ownership over to another agent. We've discussed Valkyrie perhaps taking over the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust if maybe that would be a scenario. So, yeah, man, a lot of stuff on the table. I don't think. Well, I'll kind of end with this. I don't think that a lot of people are discussing how potentially catastrophic a DCG failure would be. It would most certainly take Grayscale down with it. Not to mention Genesis as well that would go completely under.
I think we should always remember it's like the whole purpose of this is not your keys, not your crypto.
Yeah.
So the moment you decide that you're going to give up your money, your property, digital property to someone else as a custodian, you no longer have access to it. Like dude, what do they always say? Possession's 9/10 of the law.
The scary thing about the trust is that it is a paper version.
I get why people would want to do it. Like I understand, like you're trying to bridge the gap between.
Yeah, you have no exposure to crypto, to blockchain.
Yeah, and you could use it. I'm sure you could put it in your 401k profile or portfolio or something like that, or maybe in your retirement account.
But for institutions, it does make a lot of sense. It's a little easier for accounting and for compliance to simply say, hey, here is some stocks that we purchased. It is a trust that is traded. And so for that reason, it is an option there. But obviously, it's a flawed option at this point. And I don't think that anybody is going to, or at least any sound company is going to get into it. Like Michael Saylor has no interest in buying the trust.
Right. Why get a middleman? He's a huge proponent of having the coins in their possession and having access to them, and they're theirs, not held in an offshore account by some third-party person. Why get a middleman involved? I mean, for us, right? So generally the people here, I'm going to assume are like average everyday people who kind of got into crypto because we thought that it was going to be outside of the traditional factor.
You are above average, man.
Thanks, man.
Right now. You know what else is average is there is a court date. Nothing average about it. Sorry. There is a court date. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, set your calendar. The heavyweight battle of the crypto world is October 3rd, 2023. Ooh. Sam Bankman-Fried is set to appear in court if he does not file for a plea deal before then.
Stay safe, SBF. Watch out for ropes. Watch out for, anything that you might accidentally fall and choke on.
Let's get one more question out here to the chat. Guys, if you think Sam Bankman-Fried is going to appear in court on October 3rd, put a 1 in the chat. If you think he is going to take a plea deal and not show up in court, and he would never show up in court because he doesn't want to serve 100 years, put a 2 in the chat. 1, he says, F everybody, I'm going to court, put a 1. 2, if he chickens out, takes that plea deal.
When you say chickens out, like,
Slippery fall.
what if he just like chickens off the planet by some like, mysterious circumstance?
Dude, if with all his political ties, if that man doesn't make it to court and he were to all of a sudden fall ill or succumb to a suicidal episode, I lose all faith in politics, and
Bro,
I'm going full CIA is in charge of everything.
That's why I'm here already, bro. Like, crypto's got to be the way
We only
out,
got
man.
2s in the chat.
lot of 2s,
So he's taking a plea deal. I agree with the chat here.
He chickens off planet.
There's no way he could go to court and get found innocent, right?
No way, bro.
No way,
No
right?
way.
I don't know, why
Billions.
not?
You know what?
How
If
many?
he did-
how, like what? It was,
If
I
he
heard
did
80
go to
billion.
court, though, if he did go to court, I think some positives for crypto would be that there would be so much evidence that's on the blockchain. I think it'll be an awakening to, hey, if somebody tries to fight the judicial system and it involves crypto, we got the receipts top to bottom. We know exactly where it went, and I think it'll be a damning piece of evidence. Would make for some very good coverage if it did
Fakes
go
his
there.
own
But
death. I like that one.
realistically, it probably ain't going there. But it fakes his own death. Oh, what is that? What was it? What was the Canadian exchange?
Oh, the dude that he died in India.
Gosh, I don't know why it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I watched that documentary. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Called,
Crypto Blood was on that documentary. Huh?
Really?
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm about to watch it again.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that'll do it for today's show. Come tune in tomorrow. Perhaps David will be back here. Who knows? And now,
Hey, thanks for putting up with me.
yeah, no. Thank you for Kyler. Thank you, Rocco. Can we get
Yeah,
a
Rocco's
face in here,
back.
Rocco?
Yeah,
Rocco.
right here.
Rocco, I got a request for you.
The
man.
Don.
Will
Yeah,
you
what's
throw
going
the
on?
finger tornado since David's not here?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? What do you call it? Tornado? Is it, what is it? What's the Italian?
Tornado.
Oh, okay, there we go. Hey, no Italian, bro. What do you know?
That was good.
All right, so we threw up the tornado. Let's get it rolling, guys.
Family
come-
of friends, friends of family.
There you go.
Please.
Yeah,
I don't actually have it. I didn't practice it. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I just know that opening bit.
Yeah, compadres y mi amigos. Muchas gracias. Familia es primero. Hola! Let's go. Run that outro music. Where's it at?
It's there. It's there.
Oh, okay. Stay
guys.
tuned. CES coverage coming up. We got Tim, TA Tim joining us tomorrow. And
And if you haven't watched the wrap up video, go watch it. I put a lot of time and effort into that.
That was good as well. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Till tomorrow. Peace.
You guys.